But Eric, do you have anything else to add about how you go about creating these reports?
Well, I'll try to give a full explanation in October. Basically, it's a statistical analysis using the iTree software that's on the internet. It's available to anybody who wants to use it. And I'm willing to make all the data available in October for anybody that wants to peer review the data.
So
Other
Gene,
than that, I think I would just wait until October.
so
Okay.
Gene, were you suggesting that the agenda items should all be related to that general sort of concept that Eric will be talking about?
I think the Green Team Planning Committee was thinking of devoting, probably 15 minutes to housekeeping and other announcements and things, but the bulk of that meeting to tree canopy, maybe since there are new members and it's been a while, kind of a review of landscaping and where we are with our landscape contractor and the status of what machines are electric, things like that. Just kind of a refresher. It's been a while since we've discussed that topic, so we're all just, that's what I was thinking, sort of up to speed.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody interested in kind of helping fill out the program at all?
Wes, is this enough to keep you here for another month?
Oh, it might bring me back.
Wonderful.
My boxes are packed and I can't face unpacking them
Oh,
they've been moved a little.
okay. Well, I guess if anyone does have any idea or suggestion to get in touch with Gene, is that how we should leave this, Gene?
Sure, sounds good.
Okay. So anything for Eric or Gene on this topic right now? Otherwise, we're going to move on.
I'm wondering, Eric, can you tell us just briefly where we stand? What percentage of tree canopy do we have and what our goals are, just for the new people so they are oriented?
Well, the goal that we established in 2017 is to achieve 25% tree canopy. Where we were last year was between 13 and 14%. And I'm not far enough along this year to be able to say too much. Although a couple of the areas I've been working on show a percentage or two of increase. So that's really where we are. You might see a report that came out from another party a couple years ago claiming 26% canopy, but that didn't properly use the software, and so it provided erroneous data. So we're really sitting at somewhere between 13 and 14%. At least we were a year ago.
Thank you.
Well, Marilyn, you're next on the agenda to talk a little bit about Zooms with other Green Team members from other CCRCs, and I'll just turn this over to you now and see where we go with this agenda item.
Just a little background for the new people. About 4 years ago, we decided to see if we could put together a coalition of green teams in other CCRCs. So we do have such a coalition with 6 CCRCs in total: Mirabella, Holiday Park Plaza, Mary's Woods, Willamette View, and Terwilliger. And early on, what we did, we had in-person meetings where the various green teams would travel to different campuses, and we would divide up into specific interest areas. And then COVID hit. And during that time, a number of us continued to meet on Zoom. And what we were working on was a best practices document. We pulled together the various practices for sustainability that each of us has developed. We put that together in a document and presented it to the Oregon Leading Age Conference just a couple of months ago. And now we're thinking that it might be time to get back in touch for not just this single group, but for the rest of the members of the Green Team. So what we're suggesting is that we have Zooms in specific areas, and I'm just going to share my screen, I think. Hang on. Can you all see this?
I don't think your shared screen. Paul, is she a co-host?
Yeah, I'm a co-host.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still seeing the many faces.
Okay, well, I'm not going to embarrass myself by fussing with this. What I will do, I'll just mention the topics that we broke down into, that we identified in the best practices document. One was transportation. One was energy sources and energy use. One was land and water use. One was food and food waste, waste reduction and recycling, and eco-literacy and climate adaptation. So what I was wanting to find out today, if there is any interest in our group in participating in some shared Zooms to discuss any or all of these topics. So they're the basic topics that each of the 6 Green Teams is engaged with. So
and each team that's engaged with one of those topics would lead that discussion or presentation? Have they been divided out so as who would lead which discussion or?
well, not yet. We're basically asking how much interest is there.
Oh,
Each of us is going back to our Green Teams to say, hey, do you want to talk to other Green Teams? And if you do, what would you like to talk about? And then based on what folks want to do, we'll organize the Zooms.
great. So other communities are asking the same question of their own Green Teams.
Yes, so
Great.
I'm just gathering your interest. Because for the new people, most of us have specific interests. The Green Team has 4 basic priorities, and most of us lean in one direction or another.
Mhm.
And it's super helpful to hear what other CCRCs are doing. Some of them are doing more than we're doing. For example, Mirabella has a car sharing program, an EV car sharing. And we haven't been able to make any headway on that at all. We excel in landscaping and can share our expertise with other campuses. So would you be interested? And if so, what kinds of issues are at the top of your priority list? What are we having trouble with?
I would say one high priority topic is water use. I know we don't know what our consumption is. We haven't seen any data for since the last December, but at that point we were exceeding our fair share of water extracted from the Clackamas River. And so I think that would be an effective topic.
Do you assume that that's related to the landscaping, Eric?
I'm expecting it's related to construction.
Oh,
But
okay.
I don't know that because we're not receiving any current data.
You can blame it on phase 3, right?
Yeah.
Speaking of phase 3, just to remind you that we have gray water running in our area now for irrigation. And I don't know if you were aware of that, but
That's great.
Great, wonderful.
Well, I certainly endorse the notion of various communities coming together because I think in strength, strength in numbers. And I think it's inspiring for us also to share information. And I thought the presentation of the two folks from Mirabella was just terrific. And it was inspiring. So I'm hoping we can do something like that again, Marilyn. Jean, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I just wanted to put my 2 cents in for any more EV information. Marilyn was right. It was really interesting to hear from Mirabella about the grant they got from PGE and charging. And it's just interesting. We just drove by, Marilyn's heard the story on a whim, like past Mary's Woods one day, just to kind of be snoopy and look at their campus a little. And to our surprise, they have something like 8 or more level 2 chargers kind of in their front. And at that time, I don't know if they are now, they were all free. And so, I'm sure their billing and everything is different and you can't compare apples and oranges, but I was just shocked to see that. And it's like, oh, we could learn a lot from our neighbors on EV charging, on landscaping, on all sorts of things. But I guess I would vote for more EV sharing.
Anyone else have a preference or a position on this multi-facility conversation? Yeah, Felicia.
I would like to talk to them about energy use and energy conservation on campus,
Mhm.
on their campuses. Interior temperatures, et cetera, light use.
Yeah. Anyone else? Do I assume that your silence is a negative vote? If any of you know how to use the reaction button on the lower toolbar where there's a little happy face, you can hit that and you can put a big thumbs up next to your name like I did. And that's one way to indicate your interest in moving forward. That might help Marilyn to.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can say when we gathered in person, we had about 70 people.
Wow.
It was really invigorating to hear what other places are doing. So, okay. One last chance for those of you with thumbs up. Any specific issues? If not, we can move on.
All right. And
Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. We'll look forward to getting an update from you. And what do you think those will be this fall and winter? Is that when we'll be doing this
I would
meeting?
imagine, yeah.
Okay, great. Oh, what we've all been waiting for. Felicia and breaking up with your bank. And that's your cue, Felicia. Are you trying to share your screen?
Unmute, and I'm trying to share. So what I would like to share is just some information that shows why this is so important, and I hope I can make it work. And then go to the Third Act website and show you where to sign the pledge, and then talk about what our group has been doing.
Great.
Which screen do I want to share? I don't even recognize these.
I think
I don't recognize any of those.
we all need a
Maybe.
tutorial from Susan Hine again on screen sharing. Maybe Paul could do
Apparently.
that.
Well,
One of the icons should be your desktop.
I know, but there's my passwords. I'm not going to show that to you. Which should not be on the desktop, I know. And then this, what is this? But when I click, oh, I see, I click on, I forgot to say. Maybe it's here. No,
Well,
oh, here.
you
See, this thingy keeps coming down and I can't point to things, and I'm sorry to. Okay, so there is an article that
Yeah.
I can send to all of you that shows, that tells about the banks that are financing fossil fuel extraction, new projects. And you
Wow.
can see the 4 banks that, you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
The 4 banks that we're working on are there at the top. This is the amount they've been lending since 2016 to 2021. So Chase, Citibank, Wells Fargo, and Bank of America are the ones that Third Act and other organizations are focusing on.
Hmm.
In this article, which again, I can share the link with you. I think something that was very interesting was financing by year and sector. I have to move you out of the way. And when you get to this page, it shows total fossil fuel financing, and you can see there's Chase, Citi, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. But what if you want to know about fracking, for example, or the Arctic or tar sands or whatever? So if we look at fracking, again, and we know how bad fracking is, there's those 4 banks again.
Wow. At least
So
they're
I just,
consistent.
and we watched a video yesterday at our meeting, and one of the things pointed out is that the known oil and gas reserves, coal, etc., that are known, we need to leave 80% of those in the ground. And yet these banks are financing new extraction projects. So that's why we're trying to put pressure on them to stop lending. So as I say, I can send this article to you. It's very interesting. Here's the Third Act website, thirdact.org, and here is the pledge. And the idea is to get as many people to sign as possible. And there are 2 pledges. Yes, I have an account or credit card, or no, I don't. So there's room for you to sign in either place. And you may have some doubts about, oh, I don't know if I'll change from Citibank, you know, 'cause it'll be so much work or whatever. But would you like them to stop investing in fossil fuels? So I would encourage you to go ahead and sign this anyway, even if you're not 100% sure you'll follow through, because these numbers are very important. I think I'm through sharing now. Now, how do I get back to us?
End screen sharing?
Oh. I don't know how to do that. How do I make this really big?
Make what really big?
The
There,
Zoom meeting.
there should be an icon at
Oh,
the top of your screen.
Yeah, something maybe a little red that says stop screen share, maybe near the top.
I see. Thank you.
There you
Thank
go.
you very much. So the things that I would like to report is that we've been having Thursday meetings, 10 a.m., usually in the training room. The first week of every month has to be in the pack. We've been tabling at the farmer's market, trying to spread the news there. We've got information that we hand out there, but we've also put it now in the club room on the wooden bar. There's also some on the bulletin board. We put flyers in the cubbies, I think a month ago. I tried to send meeting announcement emails that also include some educational material. We've had very interesting people that come to the meetings. Maybe they don't come every time. Sue Griffin has been talked to us about her changing to Beneficial State Bank. And other people have changed to On Point Credit Union. And when the time comes when we're actually going to have a workshop, possibly on how to change, your credit cards and banks, then these people will be able to offer real life experience. Wes could, but he won't be here. And Susan Hine came to a meeting and talked to us about this. Well, many things, but one was that she had created a sign, you know how Susan wears signs, that lists the 4 banks on it to become a conversation starter. And Judy Perry has made her own sign similar to that. The song that Wes helped get started on breaking up with your bank, if anybody would like to come on September 25th at 2:00 in the Vista Lounge to begin rehearsing with us, that would be great. And that could be something we could fill in with at the next general meeting that we do in person, Jean. We could sing our song if we're ready. The big step, and we would like to meet with the other CCRCs to talk about Third Act, and if they would like to be involved about it, do they know about it? But we won't do that until we can say that we've actually visited bank managers, which is the next step. And Judy Perry and Donna Young and I practiced talking to a manager the last 2 meetings, screwing up our nerve. And we'll be making appointments at branches close to us to go in and talk to them and make personal connections about our concerns about climate change, and to tell them about this campaign that's going on nationally. And the idea is that we are informing people at lower levels in the bank and not just the CEO. I think that's all. Does anybody have any questions or something to add?
No, it doesn't look like it, but thank you, Felicia. It's exciting, an initiative that began, I think, one night in your head, and look where it's gone now. So
Well, and we would love for more people to come to our meetings. Oh, another idea was to talk with young people, college students. It occurred to me, why not have a meeting where we invite kitchen staff to come and just see how they're thinking about the climate catastrophe, and that we are working to support their futures. That seems like an interesting idea.
great.
Maybe there are people here that would like to be involved with that.
Okay, well, thanks again. We got to move along. We've got, as I say, a full agenda. We have some administrative issues that Jean is going to walk through with us now regarding the sustainability certification checklist and other things. Jean, I'll just turn this over to you and you can lead that part of the agenda, okay?
Sure, I can kind of get through the sort of just combined a bunch of issues. Just real quick though, Wes, did you have your hand up? Was there something you wanted to mention about breaking up with your bank?
I wanted to say that it probably would be helpful to reiterate that Third Act refers to our generation, which at this point in the lives of the people of the United States, it's our generation that has the most money invested in one place or another. And so in this third part of our life, if we haven't acted before, it's time to act. That's why it's called Third Act.
Thank you, Wes.
Well, good. Well, yeah, just moving into administrative issues, a couple things. If any of you attended, I think it was the last resident forum, the first 8 to 10 minutes of the resident forum were devoted to the recertification of Clackamas leaders in sustainability that the county gives out to various businesses throughout the county. And there are different levels of gold, silver, platinum, and the county does an assessment based on something like a 7-page checklist. And just briefly, I think it was 2016 or 2017 was the first time. 2019 was recertification, and then this third year, or third time it was 2022. We got recertified again, and evidently we got a very high score. The mystery is we've been asking administration to actually see the checklist. Before German left, our previous Green Team liaison, he kind of showed what was sort of half completed. It was kind of a work in progress. And so he turned it over to administration, and somebody evidently finished it to get a score of 91. But we haven't been able to lay eyes on that yet, and we hope to. We think it would be interesting just to see how we scored on that topic. So still,
Or
So
to-
Jean,
Or to see if they cheated.
yeah,
Jean, I had a long conversation with Alex Mim today,
oh, great.
and he said that he certified Rosevilla 3 times. The first time with John Schallberger, second Christina and John, and last time German, and then Christina took over. So Christina is the key contact at this point, apparently. And he said, I asked, how is it verified? And he said, in the beginning, it's a combination of on-site and meeting with staff, but as time goes on, they just rely on self-reporting and sharing documentation. And he said that on this third application, he has a lot fewer notes because he said that as companies say, oh, yes, we've installed LEDs, they don't regress and then change it to the old kind of bulbs. And so there's a lot less verification going on as they add new things. But I have a lot of notes from our conversation about recycling. And so if you're interested, I could share today or another time.
I'm kind of torn, but I think maybe another time. That
Okay.
sounds good, though. That's great, Felicia. Looks like Marilyn has her hand up.
Yeah, I just wanted to give a little background for the new people. This certification is given to businesses in Clackamas County. And from the get-go, it really reflected Rosevilla Inc.'s activities. It reflected infrastructure, paperwork. It never really involved residents. And it was interesting at the forum that Alex spent a lot of time giving a lot of credit to the residents and what the residents are doing, but we actually have not seen the document. We have no idea what we were supposed to have accomplished. So we thought it was, at a minimum, we'd like to see the document, but it somehow never arrives.
So he's going to send it to me.
Yes,
And-
but shouldn't we be able to get it from Rosevilla?
Yeah, the question is did Christina have it? And we were asking Tina for it, and I don't know.
Well, why don't we try just asking Christina if we could see it? Has
I
anyone
will.
done it?
I will. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you to Bill and Felicia. I will. I didn't do that, so. And then actually that's just transitions to the second one was Green Team Liaison. German left mid-July, excuse me. So it's been 2 months without a liaison. And just before the meeting, I received an email from Tina. And she said, I don't want to leave you and the rest of the Green Team hanging. We do not have a staff member who can join the meeting today. The new manager starts on September 26th. And after a period of onboarding and training, she will be working with the group. Many thanks for everyone's patience. So I guess we shall be getting a new liaison, hopefully for the October meeting. So that's for that.
Is that the person taking German's position?
Yes,
Okay.
and that's all I know. I don't know her name. I don't know.
That's okay. I wouldn't know it either.
Yeah. And then the third item kind of related to RV administration is And again, if anyone has any information, that's great. On the Resilience Committee, at various residents' council meetings, Tina has mentioned the development of a resilience committee for Rose Villa that would be both staff and resident driven, and that there would be maybe like 3 to 4 residents. And I think Marilyn has sort of asked more pointed questions like what skill set, what will be discussed, when does that start? And as far as I know, we don't know anything. Does anybody, Marilyn, or does anybody have any more information on that?
We don't have any more information, but it's probably not too soon to be thinking about who among our community has skills that would be really useful. Because as we've said before, we don't just want to send somebody who has a general interest. We'd like to be able to contribute and have an effective voice. So I don't know, Bob, Paula, Donna, maybe you're just getting to know your neighbors, but if you were thinking about a resilience team, what kinds of skills, do you know anybody that has the sorts of skills that we might be looking for?
Meryl, can you tell us exactly what skills those are?
Well, that's part of the problem, because we've asked Tina for how they understand resilience, and we haven't had an answer. So we're just trying to be anticipatory and lift up those among us, maybe with engineering or environmental experience that could have could contribute. So maybe that's a place to start. What kind of skills do we have in our community that we can suggest?
Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
It's frustrating that we don't understand at this point what we're being resilient for.
Yeah,
Because that could really clarify the kind of person that would be preferred on that kind of a committee. Frustrating.
Yeah, the little I know is the first phase of that committee was working with Green Hammer as kind of a consultant and taking inventory of what Rose Villa has. But the next phases are, I guess, to be determined. So Wes, do you know anything?
Wes?
I just want to comment that a few years ago, as we were looking for terminology to talk about the mission of the Green Team, there was not a lot of happiness about the word resilience, because if you're resilient, you're bouncing back. And the research that has been forthcoming indicates we're facing something new. We need to transition to a new way of being. And if we're thinking, well, you know, if we just adjust a few things, it'll be the way it was in 1980. No, it's not going to be. So language is important, terminology is important. We need to think about what is a community we are creating day to day, because that's how you get from year to year. That's it.
one of the reasons we're so impatient about this is after we did the resident climate survey, which had tremendous response, and I forget the percentages, but a very high percentage of residents said they were very concerned about climate change.
Yeah.
And we had a work group that formed after that, after the meeting, to look at the results. And what we wanted to do at that point was to suggest a joint task force on addressing the effects of climate change on campus. And that we decided to postpone because of this upcoming resilience committee. So we've been waiting and waiting and waiting with this whole issue of anxiety about climate change on the back burner. And so that's why we're having this conversation.
It almost sounds like the administration doesn't really have clarity on what it means by resilience.
Mhm.
Maybe we need to define it for them.
What would that look like, Bill?
Well, I think what you were just talking about,
But what would the process be?
I don't know. The process of forming a group of people who wanted to work with the administration on climate change issues, is that what you're suggesting? What would the process be for that?
Well, I guess it would help to sit down with Tina and maybe talk, maybe say, we've got this proposal for a joint task force. And we're feeling stymied. Anyway, I see some hands up.
Yeah, Felicia and then Sue.
So I think I might have mentioned this before. I think I got the understanding that her resilience committee using Green Hammer was the resiliency of Rose Villa as a business. So if there's a power outage, can they resume service? If there's a fire, can they resume service? If there's, you know, the water is knocked out, can they come back from that? I don't think it's about, you know, growing more food in the garden or adding a third layer of glass to the windows for insulation purposes. That's my impression, that it's a business serving the customers thing. It's not about climate change.
In other words, how
Even though part of those problems could come from the results of climate change.
how do we bounce back in a crisis? Sue?
Well, I don't know how we bounce it back, but it sounds to me when I went to Beth about something I'm working on, oh, no, we can't do anything till January. So I do think it would be a good idea for us to come up with some ideas to present to Tina, because no. You're shaking your head no.
What's up, Wade?
So we're saying that we want to press the issue with Tina, talk about resident anxiety about climate change and the need for adaptation. And is that what you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting we come up with some ideas that we think would fall under that, not let them just, you know, make without some input. Because what I feel around here since 2015, they make their plans and then they say, well, this is done and isn't this great and it's going to help us be this and this. Maybe we should be a little more proactive and list some of the things that we want to jointly work on. Do you think we could go through RE chat and ask some people, is there anybody that is in engineering or it's in environmental that we could use to brainstorm with? That's all. I don't know. I don't know anything more than you do and what Bill Gates tells me.
Shall we kick this back to the planning committee and have them think about how we're balancing this request for a joint task force with the resilience, whatever?
I could think if we give them our view of what it is.
And maybe that goes through the council. Is that what people are saying? Is that what you want us to do? Yes, no?
Raise
I
their
think
hand.
that's the way to go.
Thank you, Paula. Paula thinks we should move forward, so, okay.
And I have a quick question. Am I understanding, have we, obviously brand new, I don't know, but have we prioritized our issues for climate change and presented that to anybody? Is that what we're talking about here?
We haven't prioritized our issues. What we did, we did a survey that was in part based on Yale University's climate survey, which gauged people's level of concern. And then we added 4 questions of our own. Actually, I can get this to you if you like, which had to do with how residents understood Rose Villa's responsibility, or what they wanted Rose Villa to tackle. So that
Okay.
it wasn't specifics, rather
what-
just attitudes.
All right, general, but nothing specific. There was no list of saying we would do this, we would like to
No.
do this. Okay,
No.
thank you. That's helpful too.
But that would be a good thing to do. You want to volunteer, Paula?
Well, I would be interested in that. I'm as a newbie, I don't know what's been done, but I have some knowledge in the issues. And so I would be interested if people want to work on that.
That would be great. Thank you. Anybody else want to sit down and think about this with us?
I could, Marilyn, but I don't have a background, but I have a lot of reading I've done.
Okay, we'll work on this. Thank you.
And then just the last thing on the administrative issues is there's a different committee that I'm on called the Food Think Tank that meets every other month, that meets with Noreen and Marty from Food and Beverage. And at the last meeting, let's see, it looks, yeah, Pam is on this Zoom. We were both there. The kitchen has decided to formally stop the Meatless Monday promotion, or calling it that. They'll continue to offer vegetarian and vegan meals and options. They just won't have the Meatless Monday. Noreen and Marty gave it a great try. I think it was almost 1.5 years. They tried a variety of ways to promote it. Sometimes it would do better, sometimes it wouldn't. Sometimes she said she almost felt like she was sort of between a rock and a hard place. Like some of the food that they were offering was good, but maybe like for some of the vegans on campus, not maybe healthy enough, like an Impossible Burger is sort of like a bridge food, or sort of an in-between food. And so maybe the meat eaters didn't like it, but then the vegans really didn't like it either, because it wasn't, it's not that healthy. I mean, it's healthy for the cow and the planet, but not for our heart. So anyway, it's kind of a long story, but you won't be seeing probably Meatless Monday on the menu anymore, but they'll continue to provide vegan and vegetarian meals. And I gave just a little slideshow, just, I don't know, 5 minutes or something, just kind of a history of what Meatless Monday is and why they were doing it, and kind of US food, meat consumption compared to other countries. And, maybe at a future meeting, maybe not October, maybe November meeting, I'd be happy to share that. Just, it's pretty brief. So does anybody have any questions or comments about Meatless Monday? Okay, well, that completes administrative issues. I think it's back to Marilyn and the Rose Villa Foundation grant program.
Yeah, this is a fun thing to think about. The foundation wants to give away some money, and they're asking people on campus to come up with ideas. And I am going to try again to share my screen. I think I can pull this off. Nope, not working, is it? How about that? Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. So just for the background for the newcomers, this year the Green Team had 4 major priorities. We wanted to focus on landscape and land use, on divestment, on eco-literacy, and carbon emission reduction. And very briefly, under landscape, we did a lot of planting. A program called Flower Buds was developed. There was a book group. In terms of bank issues, Felicia's been working on the 3rd act. In terms of eco-literacy and climate issues, we did this survey and had the proposal for the joint task force. And in terms of carbon emission reduction, there was a lot of conversation about EV charging station proposals and clean wind recruitment. So that's kind of where we're coming from. But we get to think about fun stuff. You know, the money, the grants are up to $5,000. And it could fit into one of these 4 categories or just be off the wall. My favorite is putting a fountain in the atrium. So I don't know if any of you have been thinking about this. I was talking to one resident, it was Donna the other night, and I said, one of these days, you'll say to yourself, oh, what we need is X, Y, or Z. So what do you think we need to make the place greener, more sustainable, more resilient? What can we think of that fit into to our priorities? What's needed in your neighborhood? Jean, go for it.
Well, I mean, I would be interested in some more electric landscaping equipment. For the longest time, we were talking about electric mowers, and they always said, oh, you know, there are mowers out for, you know, residential use, but there's not a really good contractor or really good commercial mower. Well, now there are some mowers out. So I would be interested. The concern I have is since Josh Pease is gone, I'm not sure who we contact for that. So that might be something in maybe a future round, but that's it.
Sue?
Well, I've thought of those solar power panels, you know, they say they're so cheap. Contacting PGE, the garages in phase 1 was put on a slope so they could put them in. But they said that was always in the future, and I wonder if the future is here. I don't know. To try out, see if that helps with our.
It would be interesting if the foundation bought solar panels. Okay, Felicia.
Well, mine is maybe tangential, but the vegetable garden, I wish that we could invest in making those paths down there more easily walkable. Perhaps not all of them, but many more could be improved, and more benches, maybe. But we have to do all the research. We have to figure out how much it would cost, how much the benches cost, all that. Having some more beds that are raised rather than.
What about more raised garden?
Right, rather than depending on a resident to be able to afford putting in raised beds. Maybe they could put in some, but you would want to know for sure there was a need for them.
There was quite a bit of discussion. I don't know if you were at the last garden meeting about the paths and whose responsibility that should be. There was some talk about applying for a grant from the foundation, but a lot of people expressed the opinion that this really should be more Rose Villa.
It should.
Their responsibility. They do quite a bit of marketing on the basis of the nice gardens that we have, and and they have in fact invested in the past. I'm told, I'm a newbie on the paths, and we are sort of down at the northwest end where the paths are pretty bad. In fact, we really, my wife has become has a feeling that, you know, she's not too far from falling over, you know, in some of those areas, and it's getting to be kind of a safety concern as well as a aesthetic one. So Although I think that that needs to be done, I think perhaps the pressure ought to be on Rosevilla itself rather than the foundation.
No, I agree with that.
And Felicia, were you talking about benches in the garden? Or were you
I was talking about benches in the garden because so many are from the 60s or 70s.
Yeah, some of the plastic chairs down there are not all that attractive from the marketing point of view. I went over to Willamette View and looked at their garden because of this discussion that we had at the garden meeting, and they have a much different sort of tidy sort of culture and a lot of nice places for people to sit and meditate and so on. There, if anybody wants to view it sort of a different type of garden, ours are much more vegetable oriented, but we're certainly enjoying our garden. But yeah, that's another idea that might be more of the responsibility of the, I don't know whose responsibility should be, foundation or Rosevilla, but.
It's a wonderful thought, though, to have spaces for meditation in the garden.
I agree, it should be safety when you go down there.
Yeah.
Around the paths or, you know.
Well, maybe we could talk to Dave and see if we could do some kind of joint proposal. Wes, you had your hand up.
Yeah, a couple of things. The Flower Bud program that we initiated, I had been the initiator of it and had been linking new residents who wanted to garden with someone with people who wanted them to garden. Susie Wilkins is taking over that role, and she has been both a flower bud to residents who need help with their gardens. She's been a flower bud to the staff on the Vista Lounge. She noticed that there wasn't water to some of those planters and the plants were dying. And it occurs to me that it might be useful for those of us who live here to talk to the people who are actually working out in the gardens, to like, you know, what kind of help do you need? You know, we notice there isn't a water supply near, or those in the administration who are up on the third floor are not going to be tuned in to what's going on in the neighborhoods where we live. The people who work in the neighborhoods where we live, I think, are a better someone to talk to if we're looking for an idea for a proposal that would help. We don't have to dream it up if we talk with Andy or we talk with other people who we know are passionately engaged in the maintenance and the landscaping and so on. We very might well come up with some good proposals for the foundation.
You think Susie might want to take that on?
She might well.
Okay,
She has been.
she's not here, so let's volunteer her for that.
Yeah. Well, she did that very thing, getting one of the grounds crew to come up and look at the Vista Lounge. And they said, oh my goodness, you know, we need to fix this. And so they got that fixed and she's done some planting. But it's kind of a model that I think is practical when it comes to landscaping.
Thank you. We're going to have to move on. We're almost at 5. Bob, did you want to add something quickly?
Just quickly, Jean's suggestion about electric gardening in Lake Oswego, where we came from, the city has adopted a policy of getting all of the landscaping equipment for the city crews to be electric now, and they're purchasing it. And I think that's a development that would be within the budgetary constraints of this grant program, and would be very specific and visible as far as producing something that everybody could see and appreciate.
James, you're muted.
I just wanted to pick up, I can't remember, I'm sorry, the name of a new resident who had lots of expertise and passion for the electrification and getting more ability to charge cars. I know that might not fit into this, but I would just like to find out how that worked out. He was going to take some initiative, and I just hadn't heard about it since I was impressed with his presentation up in the Vista Lounge one time.
That would be John Chapman.
John, okay.
Carl or Susie, which one is it?
When we were doing Bringing Nature Home, the last book that we studied, we were talking about the part that is so overrun by the blackberries on the fence dividing the equipment place now. And there's talk about having that be a community center. Don't know what that's all about, but it's nobody, I don't think, can get that fence down without the expense of having a backhoe get in there and really clear out the fences and the blackberries and let that land be available. And why we were talking about that was because it could be planted with native bushes and whatnot that would be certainly more helpful for the garden and just to be in an environment that way. But I don't think anybody can do that physically. I think they're going to need money to, what do you think, Wes?
Yeah, they will.
Yeah,
They help and money.
it has to be done if that's a priority for people. Maybe that would happen when they're going to make the community center. I don't know how that's even going to work, but right now that would be another suggestion.
It's 5 o'clock. Wes, what do you want to add?
I would just like to say this will be my last meeting with the Green Team. 9 years ago, the Green Team monitored water and monitored electricity. That's what it did. Over 9 years, the Green Team has evolved in its concerns in ways which you have heard today expressed. I received in the mail today this book called Speaking for the Land, and I'm donating it to the library. I phoned Jean Coberly about it. It's a book about Kathy Ann's work and my assisting her in getting a native plants park established in Northfield, Minnesota, where I was teaching at St. Olaf College. And I was greatly honored and so pleased and so surprised. I don't know if you can see this.
Oh my gosh.
Wonderful.
But its book is dedicated to Kathy Ann and to me. And I want those of you who are interested in speaking for the land and what it takes to organize to get things done, to have a chance to read about the work that was done there in the 1980s. And Jean, I'll get this book to you today or tomorrow, however I can. And it can go in the library or in the archives. But thank you all. And it's been one of the joys of my life to work with you here.
Thank you so much for all you've contributed, Wes, over the years. You've been a real role model for us. And safe travels. Back to you, Jean.
I think that's it. We're 2 minutes over. We had one plea with Wes's absence. We need a few more people on the Green Team Planning Committee. I don't know if anyone can take Wes's place, but we sure need some folks to try. And if you're interested in being on the committee that helps set up the agenda for the Green Team, please contact Marilyn or me. And I think that's it. I think the time is done. So let's see. I think we lost Bill. So yeah, any last comments? Otherwise, we'll call it done for today. All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks.
See you next month in real life here.